So you have closely worked on high-profile cases like surveillance of Osama bin Laden. Can you explain what was the emotional drive of bin Laden and Al Qaeda in general while executing all these attacks, not only in the United States but all across the world?
All the years that I was involved in tracking and analyzing and trying to understand and get ahead of and anticipate Osama bin Laden in particular, it's not really talked about. And I think a lot of people go back to his time in Afghanistan, or they listen to his 1996, fatwa, and they, figure out, or they extrapolate from there. But what I found unbelievably telling was one side of the story. In the year that Iraq invaded Kuwait, there was a concern that Iraq might then go on and invade Saudi Arabia, and the kingdom asked for support. George H.W. Bush, the president of the United States at that time, was providing military support to the kingdom to defend itself in case Iraq invaded further into Saudi Arabia. But what we didn't know at the time was that Osama bin Laden wrote to the king and said, hey, the glorious Mujahideen who kicked the Soviet troops out of Afghanistan should be the ones to come and defend the kingdom. And he made an argument that the kingdom should not invite the troops of an infidel country like the United States, and certainly not women, because there were women in those troops as well. And you have to understand it from bin Laden's perspective. From bin Laden's perspective, this band of volunteers from over 50 countries around the world successfully repelled the military of one of the superpowers, the Soviet Union. To watch those troops walk out of Afghanistan, march out of Afghanistan, it was really that unbelievable high of, wow, we were victorious. And then a few years later, the Soviet Union is no more. So bin Laden is full of this sense of accomplishment, this pride, this tremendous pride in having done that. So he believes that the Mujahideen, many, many different nationalities, should be able to come and defend the kingdom rightly. Well, the king wrote back a very dismissive letter. Now, we didn't know this at the time, but he did. Because, of course, when you have a kingdom to protect and you have an offer from coalition military with actual hardware and airplanes and everything else, you're going to say yes, right? When we found bin Laden in Abbottabad and processed all of the material that was taken from that compound, to include his journals and his writing and all that, from 1991 until 2011, bin Laden had moved many, many times. Afghanistan, Pakistan, Sudan, Afghanistan. Like, he had moved around. He had moved around a lot. When you consider someone who has lived their life on the run for 20 years, the things that he keeps with him have to be important. One of the things that he kept with him was that letter from the king. And to me, that says so much about where his anger, his pride had been so hit hard by the king's dismissal. When you go back and you look at his own language, you really see the beginning of his talking about the United States as the head of the snake. And I think it's that pride. His pride was seriously damaged. All those people were following a man whose pride had been hurt.